Good afternoon and thank you for staying with us. This is Global Updates on Fresh 107.9 FM Abeokuta. I'm Wale Bakari. First, the headlines. Nigeria's COVID-19 cases passed 22,000 as country records 9 new deaths. Nigeria Governors Forum to interface with federal government over health concerns in the country. On the foreign scene, France's iconic Eiffel Tower reopens following months of lockdown. And sports, Manchester City will go ahead to host Liverpool game at Etihad. Stay tuned for details of this and more. And now the news in detail. Nigeria on Wednesday recorded 649 new COVID-19 cases as total infections from the virus in the country rose to 22,020. According to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC), the new cases, Lagos recorded 250, closely followed by Oyo State with 100 cases, while Plateau and Delta reported 40 new cases. Abia State reported 28 cases, Kaduna 27, Ogun State 22, Edo 20, Akwa Ibom 17, while Kwara and the FCT had 17 new cases each. Enugu State reported 14 new cases, Niger and Adamawa with 13 cases, Bayelsa with 7, Osun and Bauchi with 6 cases each, Anambra 4, Gombe 3, Sokoto with 2 new cases, while Imo and Kano reported 1 new case each. According to the NCDC, 7,338 patients have recovered and have been discharged, while the number of deaths increased from 533 reported on Tuesday to 542. In the meantime, members of the Nigeria Governors Forum have agreed to interface with the federal and state ministries of health to address the concerns of resident doctors in the country. This formed part of the resolutions of the governors at the 11th NGF COVID-19 teleconference held on Wednesday night. In a bid to review the concerns of the National Association of Resident Doctors, the governors promised to ensure that backlog of salaries was settled where such exist and reintegrate residency training in state hospitals where they have been suspended. They also resolved to ensure the ministries provide protective equipment and ensure sustainable pathways to uphold the welfare of doctors in an effective and efficient manner. The Federal Executive Council has approved the Nigeria Economic Sustainability Plan recommended by the committee headed by Vice President Professor Yemi Oshibajo. The approved plan contains the 2.3 trillion naira stimulus plan aimed at combating the disruptions in Nigeria's economy as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, disclosed this to State House correspondents after the FEC meeting in Abuja yesterday.
The total package that we presented today is in the sum of 2.3 trillion naira. 500 billion of this 2.3 trillion is a stimulus package that is already provided for in the amended 2020 Appropriation Act. So these are funds that we have sourced locally from special accounts. We also have 1.2 trillion of these funds to be sourced as structured low-cost loans.
Meanwhile, Minister of Works Babajide Fashola also intimated correspondence on road projects that were approved by Council.
The roads approved were Akure to Ado Ekiti Road, Ukana Akwa-Tong Ikot Ntwe Road in Akwa Ibom State, Iluke Ayetoro Kiriabugi Egon Road in Kogi State, Odono Elewe Idiayinre Mamu Ogun State border in Oyo State, Tamawa Gulu Road in Kanu, Potiskum Fika Bajoga Gombe Road linking Yobe and Gombe States, and Kachako Dambazao Road in Kano State.
The Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Talent, says there will be no more out-of-court resolution of rape cases in the country. The minister, who stated this while speaking to State House correspondents in Abuja, decried the non-implementation of the Child Rights Act and the Violence Against Persons Act in many states of the Federation. Mrs. Stalin, while saying all a ministry can do is appeal to governors of such states, added that parents who request for out-of-court resolution for rape cases will be prosecuted.
We are ready to prosecute and deal with any parent that tries to manipulate or request for a out-of-court district. And we are working closely with the Inspector General of Police and NAPTIP. We don't support any out-of-court case of rape, because a raper is a killer.
Meanwhile, the National Human Rights Commission (NHRC) has advised rape victims to speak out no matter how long ago the incident had happened. Addressing journalists at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja, the Executive Secretary, Tony Ojukwu, said keeping quiet over the incident would only help to create more abusers. Mr. Ojukwu, who warned against false accusations, said the NHRC is doing a lot to make people come out of stigmatization. He appealed to government and corporate organizations to donate to the Human Rights Fund. A bit of politics now. The much anticipated meeting of the National Executive Committee of the All Progressives Congress will hold today. President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to attend the meeting, which is aimed at resolving the crisis which has rocked the leadership of the ruling party for some time now. The meeting is coming amid the controversy over who is the authentic national chairman of the party, with two individuals laying claim to the position. Meanwhile, the police have taken over the National Secretariat of the All Progressives Congress in Abuja. This comes 2 days after a team of security operatives sealed off the party's office in the nation's capital, purportedly on the orders of the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adam. You've been listening to Global Updates on Fresh 107.9 FM Abeokuta. Still to come on the foreign scene, France's iconic Eiffel Tower reopens following months of closure. Stay with Fresh 107.9 FM. Many thanks for staying with us. Outside our shores now, Russia has begun voting on constitutional reforms that could allow President Vladimir Putin to serve another 2 terms in office. The official vote is scheduled for July the 1st, but authorities said they were opening polling stations a week early to stop overcrowding amid the pandemic. Opposition activist Alexei Navalny has said the changes will allow Mr. Putin to be president for life. Mr. Putin, however, says they will ensure Russia's stability. Although the president has not publicly said he would run again in 2024 when his current term ends, he has said it is vital that he has the option. France's iconic Eiffel Tower has opened again to guests after its longest closure since World War II, though operations will not be totally normal yet. Visitor numbers will be limited, face coverings mandatory for anyone aged over 11, and everywhere above the 2nd floor will be closed to the public. To soak in the sights of the capital, guests will also have to use the stairs since lifts are out of use until July 1st. The tower, completed in 1889, hosts around 7 million visitors every year, approximately 3/4 of them from abroad. That's according to the website. New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut have asked people traveling from states where COVID-19 cases are rising to go into self-isolation for 14 days. New Jersey's Phil Murphy said people in the 3 states had been through hell and did not want another round of virus infections. Some southern and western states have been reporting record numbers of cases. The University of Washington predicts 180,000 U.S. deaths by October, or 146,000 if 95% of Americans wear masks. So far, the United States has recorded more than 2.3 million cases of the virus and more than 121,000 deaths. Meanwhile, dozens of U.S. Secret Service personnel have been told to self-isolate after 2 who attended President Donald Trump's rally in Tulsa on Sunday tested positive for COVID-19. Mr. Trump was criticized for holding the re-election campaign event in a city where the infection rate is rising. 6 members of the campaign's advance team tested positive before the rally, while 2 others did so afterwards. The Secret Service did not say how many employees were infected or are in isolation. In business, the United States has threatened new trade tariffs on beer, chocolate, and olives from the European Union as part of a long-running row over subsidies to plane maker Airbus. The U.S. Trade Representative said it was considering duties on 30 products worth $3.1 billion in trade every year. It has already put 15% to 25% tariffs on $7.5 billion worth of other European Union goods as part of the dispute. The EU warned it would damage firms on both sides of the Atlantic. UK Trade Minister Liz Truss also criticized the move, saying the tit-for-tat tariffs between the EU and the US is simply arming businesses on both sides of the Atlantic. In sports, Manchester City have been given permission to host their Premier League match with Liverpool on Thursday, July the 2nd at Etihad Stadium. The game between the league's top two sides could have taken place at a neutral venue because of safety fears over fans gathering outside. But the Manchester City Council Safety Advisory Group agreed it could be played at City's home ground. If Manchester City avoid a defeat tonight in their game against Chelsea, the game at the Etihad could be the title decider. Liverpool defeated Crystal Palace 4-0 last night at Anfield to move within 2 points of their first title in 30 years. But a win for Chelsea against City tonight will secure the title for the Reds. Reporters coming in says President Muhammadu Buhari has dissolved the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress. We shall bring you details of this in our subsequent bulletins. Report just coming in says President Muhammadu Buhari has dissolved the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress. And just before we end the global updates this afternoon on Fresh 107.9 FM Abeokuta, here's a recap of the main stories. We told you that Nigerians have risen to 22,020 following the confirmation of 649 new cases by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. We also told you that France's iconic Eiffel Tower has opened again to guests after its longest closure since the World War II. We told you in sports that Manchester City have been given permission to host their Premier League match with Liverpool on July the 2nd at the Etihad Stadium. And just a reminder of our breaking story, President Muhammadu Buhari has dissolved the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress. We'll give you details of that in our subsequent bulletins. That's the global updates this afternoon on Fresh 107.9 FM Abeokuta, as edited by Omoyemi Adesoye and Wale Bakari. Many thanks for listening. Good afternoon.
This is Fresh 107.9, where we keep you